Welcome back, guys, to another YouTube video. My name is Benicio McLaughlin, and today we are going to be breaking down Chapter 3 of my brand new book, The Simplicity and Complexity of Life, now available on Amazon. Go check it out if you have not yet. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. So, Chapter 3. The chapter is about how we come about finding truth. The fundamental idea of philosophy is seeking the truth in life's deeper questions. There are different kinds of truths. There is objective truth and subjective. A lot of people are in denial of truth because they go out and they try and look for evidence to support their own claims of what is true instead of looking at that bigger picture and taking a step back. Within the first chapter here, I start with a quote. "It's been stated that truth is not truth because we think it is. Truth is objective, eternal, and absolute. Truth is forever evolving as we are people." That is a historical quote that has dated back centuries, and that is very much true. When we break it down, that truth is objective, eternal, and absolute. Truth is something that is objectively true, that can be proven with facts. It is something that is eternal, but yet later on in this chapter I do talk about how truth somewhat can evolve over time, and how truth is absolute. Within looking for truth, you have to realize that there will be an absolute end. And when you do reach that conclusion, move on. I have a great quote in here from Neil deGrasse Tyson where he talks about how a lot of people, they stand blindly in the face of truth in denial because they think that they're going bravely against whatever, science, politics, whatever. The truth is that there is a indefinite stop to certain things. There is a set truth to certain things, but our opinions and our backgrounds and influences heavily weigh in and play on what truth we accept and which ones we do not. I talk about the basis of philosophy and questioning, and how we should come about finding knowledge and searching for the truth. Plato, the philosopher, questioned what truth is and how we accept it. Plato thought that within truth had its, he called them forms. And he thought that truth existed in a realm outside of reality. So something was true and set in stone, he believed, if it could stand without physically existing. So a great example that has been famously used is that a triangle is a triangle even if all the triangles in the world were to be destroyed, because a triangle exists as it is. A triangle is a three-sided, flat, dimensional shape, two-dimensional shape. He believed that truth cannot be destroyed, that truth is forever, and truth is existent outside of our realm of reality. His pupil, later on, Aristotle, would believe that truth existed as it is, and that a true statement corresponds with things in the real world. He has a very famous quote that I quote in here: "To say of what is that it is, or of what is not that it is not, is true." This definition is often cited as an early example of correspondence theory of truth. Correspondence theory is a philosophical theory that basically, in a dumbed down terms, states that something is true if it corresponds to reality in the real world. There is a famous example where there is a cat in a box with poison, and the cat, you don't know if the cat is dead or alive until you open the box, because in reality we have no idea, indefinite for sure, until we open the box, if the cat is dead. Once you open the box, the cat in one reality may be alive, may be dead. But as we stand, we do not have evidence to correspond with a indefinite truth of the cat being alive or dead. About a few thousand years later, after Plato and Aristotle, would come my personal favorite philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, and he argued that truth is impossible. He stated, his quote, "There can only be perspective and interpretation driven by a person's interest or will to power." And then I comment on this in the book saying, truth being heavily swayed by a person's interest, upbringing, and personal beliefs, making everyone as biased to an extent, us all looking for the truth to support our agenda. So basically, I personally agree with Nietzsche that we go out in the world and we pick and choose pieces of evidence to correspond with our truths. A great example of this is politics. Politicians, their supporters, they go out, oh, I read this article, read that. Oh, well, this is my personal background, so this is why I think this is true. And their morals come to sway into what is true and what is not. Some people, their morals are different than others, so they cherry pick and choose different things to align with their agenda and their morals and their upbringing that heavily, heavily weighs on what they accept as the truth and what they perceive as right and wrong. And we have a whole nother chapter in this book about morals and about right and wrong and how that is influenced heavily also by your upbringing. Within his findings, Nietzsche was highly skeptical if finding the truth was truly beneficial to society for humans, because within finding the truth, it can create a void of emptiness where traditional moral values and societal structures would lie. What I kind of mean by that is that a lot of people lie to themselves, and religion has kind of always been the law of the land and has instilled a lot of moral truths into people. And once you realize that religion is a lie, it's not true, once you realize that so many things that you thought to be true are not, they drop a lot of that, those rules and that structure that govern your own life. And if everyone in society were to realize all these things that they're being lied to about, not just religion, their health, politics, their education, so much of society would most likely crumble. And it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, you know, they have the great big show, but behind the curtain is a man pulling the strings to make it all happen. So it's a question that is heavily debated if truth and if religion and knowing the truth behind the meaning of our lives is truly beneficial to society and to people as individuals and as a greater whole. Something that I plan on writing more extensively on in one of my future books. I see positives and negatives to it. I could see how it could end badly for some people, and it could greatly benefit people as individuals and be a very freeing thing, as it is for me. But for the greater society as a whole, I think humans are technologically advanced enough, the few of us that we have, but as a society, socially, we would fall into ruin, as another philosopher, Immanuel Kant, believed. I also talk in this book about how we have to come to terms with accepting the truth, and that's something that's very hard. A lot of people, like I said earlier, stand blindly in the face of denial because they believe certain things to be true so strongly, it becomes a part of them. And once something that you believe to be true becomes a part of you, like your religion, like your political beliefs, like certain pieces of scientific evidence that you read in a paper somewhere but isn't actually true, you will go to the ends of earth fighting tooth and nail to protect it, because it becomes a part of you. And we have to realize how to distinct the truth from the lies with actual reason and logical thinking, besides, oh, I got told this, or my doctor said this, or my priest told me that, or my parents told me that, or I read this on some random article. Actually dig deeper, look at things from a subjective point of view, and really break down, does that actually make sense? Logically, does this make sense? Look at it within yourself, does it stand? And look at it with other people, does it stand? And what I mean by that is, does it stand up to other facts going against it? Does it stand with other facts supporting it? And I think that's something a lot of people nowadays say, oh, my priest told me that, my mom, dad, I was raised like this, so that must be true, or, oh, I read it on fucking CNN. No, dig deeper, actually think about it for a second before you just take it and process it and just claim it as your own. Think about it, think about where those feelings, where those thoughts are coming from, and actually digest it properly when you're thinking about these pieces of information that you're grasping. And then there's this great quote I love in here about arguing with people about truth. So obviously people are always going to have their opinion, some right, some wrong, morally, how we kind of talked about how morals, truth, religious backgrounds all play into what we perceive as the truth. Science plays into that, obviously, as being indefinite. There's a great quote from Epictetus that goes, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And that's kind of rounding back to what I was talking about earlier about having that open mind and not always just seeing everything as black and white, as right and wrong, as left and right, as blue and red. Actually sitting and seeing things from the other side, questioning, am I wrong here? Thinking deeper about what your thoughts are, what your beliefs are, and what information you're taking in. And then I kind of just end with talking about how the truth of life is that life is beautiful, scary, and strange, all at the same time. The world we live in is forever changing. Each one of us will live a separate experience and have different perspective of what life and truth is. And when looking for truth, we must evaluate both sides and look for bias, even with our own truths. I talk a lot more in there, deeper, and expand more on subjects and put it into a lot more beautiful wordage than I did obviously here. A lot of thoughts bouncing around. But that was just a quick overview of the chapter. Love to talk to you guys in the comments about it. But that is the end of this YouTube video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Again, Simplicity and Complexity of Life, my new book, available now on Amazon. Go pick up a copy for yourself, your loved ones, your mommy, your daddy, all that good stuff. But I will see you guys in the next YouTube video. All right, peace out. Have a good one.